name is Arlen Druck from AC Air Conditioning. Today we're going to be installing a through-wall AC unit. First of all, we're going to work on pulling the old unit out. So we're going to work on that right now. When you're pulling out a unit, sometimes it'll stick. You want to try and walk it out from each side slowly. Right now I'm just pulling out some excess foam that is inside here. Okay, so this unit has you can see right here there's a channel that they have on this particular unit that keeps it from sliding out of the sleeve, keeps it from moving around. So this one you just have to lift it up. Some of them you're going to run into different problems with different units. A lot of them are not all units are the same. You're going to run into some which have these kind of channels. You're going to run into most of them are not going to have anything. They're going to slide out very nice. But the odd time you're going to have things like this or screws from the top of the sleeve that go into the unit, and it's not going to come out as easy as you'd like to. So just take a look, take a look around before you pull it out, and you'll figure that out pretty quick. So there's your unit. Old one. Once you have your unit out, you want to take out as much of the debris as you can. A little bit of dust isn't going to matter. It's open to the outside. That's all going to come in anyways. So just take out any spider webs that you see, grass, whatever you come across. Just clean it out as best as you can. Once you have all that done, you're ready to put in your new unit. So in this sleeve, they've used floor leveling putty to make sure that the water is draining away from the condensation from the unit. So we don't want to take any of this out. I've cleaned away most of the dirt and dust here, so we're going to put our new unit in. So you can see this plastic piece here. We need to take this off because when you put this unit in, this is going to restrict the unit from going all the way to the back, and it's not going to sit properly in the front. So we need to take this off. Once you get that off, you can get your unit in the sleeve. As you're pushing the unit in, just do your best to not scratch too much the top or the bottom. It should slide in fairly easily. And there you have it. The next step is I like to plug the unit in to make sure that everything's working properly before I go and insulate, because if you go and insulate everything and then you plug in the unit and it doesn't work, you've got a lot of extra work to do. Turn the temperature as cold as the unit will go so that it kicks in as it starts cooling right away. Make sure that everything is working correctly. While you're waiting for that, you can check all your controls, make sure everything is working. Make sure the fan speeds are working. Every unit is different. Some will start cooling within 30 seconds, some take a couple minutes. This one only took about a minute or two, and it's already cooling very well. So you can go ahead and turn it off now. Once you've checked out that your unit's working properly, it's time to do some installation. So in the box, that the unit comes in. You get a box like this. Inside here is your insulation foam. And there's your different finishing trim. This is the wider option here. And they also have a thinner option as well. I rarely use this one because it doesn't tend to look as nice as the wider one. Most people are going to want this wider one. This foam, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to start on the bottom of the unit. If you start on the sides and the top, it's going to be a lot harder to get that foam underneath this unit because it's going to snug everything up along the top and you're not going to have any room to get this in. So the first thing you want to do is get this bottom finished up. If you have two people doing this, one person can lift up while the other person tucks the foam in. I'm by myself, so I use a large screwdriver like this, and I stick it between the sleeve and the unit, and it creates enough space that we can get this in easily. Once you have your foam in there, just check underneath, make sure you don't see any daylight or any gaps that should be filled in. Just want to make sure you have it done properly before you let the unit down. So now you have a wider gap to fill in here. Just make sure that the unit is centered between the edges of the sleeve. You have the same amount of gap on each side. When you're putting this foam in, because you have a bigger gap, you want to turn the foam the wider way, the width, like this, so that when you compress the foam, it fills in the gap properly. This foam, you're going to want to push it back about 3/4 of an inch, because when you go to put the finishing trim in, it'll be in the way if you don't push it back quite far enough, but don't push it back too far. So once you've got all your insulation in, just look around the edges and make sure that you can't see any gaps or daylight showing. And if you do, just add a little bit more foam there, which is always a good reason to carry a little bit of extra foam. So if you run into a sleeve that is wider than 26 inches and this foam doesn't fill in the gaps properly, you want to make sure that that foam is compressed. If it's not compressed, then you need something a little bit thicker. What I like to use is just simple copper pipe insulation, and you can get this at any hardware store. And all I do is I take these pieces off and just fold it in half like that, and this will expand very nicely and fill in that gap, and it'll also keep the unit from shifting around. This is the finishing trim that comes in the box with the unit. It's very simple to put together. Just fit them together like that. Be careful with these tabs, they can break off. I always leave this bottom right-hand corner open so that when you put the trim over like this, it goes around this power cord. Otherwise you're going to unplug it and stick it through, so it's just a quicker way of getting it done. Clip that together, and then it just pushes right on. So some sleeves, they stick out of the wall a little bit further than others, and you're gonna end up with a small gap here at the bottom because the sleeve is slanted, it's sloped outwards, so you're going to have a little bit more of a gap at the bottom than you will at the top. Now you have your unit installed, it's good to go over a few of the main things that people are going to want to know. Like this is where you find the filter. You just pull on these two tabs. The customer, their filter, they're going to want to know how often they have to clean it and that kind of thing. It's all going to depend on how high off the ground they are, as to how dirty that's going to get. So you can just tell them, check it after a couple weeks, and from there they'll be able to tell how often they're going to have to do it. So you just put it back in. There's a tab here, and these 3 slots that it fits in. And then on the side, there's a tab right here. Just make sure it slides in. And there's a tab over here as well. Once that's done, you can close it up. So this plug here has a reset button on it and a test button. After you've installed the unit, you should tell the customer that if they have a power outage or lightning strikes or something like that, and their breaker is on, once they've confirmed their breaker's on and the unit still doesn't work, then you want to press this reset button. They'll hear a click, and then your unit will